Hi, this is Devon with a general content warning, as before, for this episode of Myth and Kin, due to The Witcher's content of, general edgy bullshit written by an old man about a teenage girl and bodily autonomy. Please enjoy the episode, and look forward to next time when we talk about a video game, which is about 3 steps removed from the actual source material. Thank God. Welcome to Myth and Kin, a travelogue podcast about the Witcher series. I'm Devon Carter, and I'm joined by Sam Howitt.
Hello.
We'll be going through the Witcher books, which we're done with, and later, next episode, the games, in order to see what the series as a whole has to offer. We just finished reading The Lady of the Lake, which is the last pertinent Witcher book to this project.
Have you, ever read a book so bad you kind of feel it's having an effect on your mental state?
Yeah, now I have.
Yeah. In one word, I would say this book is unpleasant.
In 2 words, I would say I agree.
Yeah. Fucking... It, the whole, previous books in saga, fucking trainwreck saga, whatever you want to call it, it's
You're
fucking,
heated. Oh, man.
It's just, it builds. You feel like maybe it's, nothing much is happening. You feel like it's gonna fucking build to something, and then you get to this fucking 500-page piece of shit where, nothing fucking happens, and the stuff that does fucking happen is fucking awful.
Yeah.
It's just fucking... there's some, genuinely, upsetting stuff to read in the book as well.
Yeah, and that was before the revelation of who Emperor Emir Var Emreis is.
Right, yeah, I'm gonna get into the plot. So basically, Geralt last time went to Toussaint, and he stayed there after he's been searching for Ciri, but he decided to stay in Toussaint for the winter, and he's sad. And Yennefer is off kidnapped by Vilgefortz and all that, and Ciri is in a parallel universe with elves, and the elves want her to get impregnated by the king.
Yeah, King Oberon of the elves and fairies.
And then fucking... I'm saying fucking so much today. I should really... I'm tired, it's the end of my day.
Yeah.
And so she escapes to, multitude of parallel universes, ends up in, early 20th century Aberdeen at some point, ends up in, France at a pub.
Yep.
And just all sorts of weird
because
locations.
Her power that awakens is she's quantum leaping between parallel worlds.
I mean, it's quantum leaping, but she's still her, not in the body of someone else.
Yeah, she's just, I don't know, fucking wild magic teleporting between dimensions. And this goes on for an entire chapter. It's so long.
And she's taught that by unicorns, which sounds more interesting than it actually reads.
Yeah.
And then she then escapes, but then... No, she hands herself in to Vilgefortz.
Yeah, trying to get a pardon for Yennefer.
But then they just kidnap her and, lock her up, and then they want to get her pregnant too.
Yeah.
And that's real nasty.
And then, for some fucking reason, Geralt and his entourage show up and just fucking murder a bunch of people.
Right, no. Geralt shows up because when he was in Toussaint, he was on a job and wanders into some fucking cave.
Oh my god,
for
I forgot about the cave!
Reason, he ends up in a cave and overhears Nilfgaardian, like Vilgefortz and all that, whoever the fuck it was, one of those people, just talking about where they are, and there's no actual investigation as to why. He just suddenly finds out by complete accident. He has no reason to think. The job had nothing to do with Nilfgaard. He was hunting a monster.
And then
he just
wanders into a cave that happens to be under a castle where two spies are pretending to be merchants and talking about how they're gonna go fucking get Vilgefortz and get rich.
And then he goes to the castle with his entourage of Regis, Angoleum, however they pronounce that, Milva, and Kahir. Dandelion does not join them because he is in a relationship with the Duchess of Toussaint.
Yep.
And then they all go to the castle where Ciri is and Yennefer are held and murder a bunch of people. All of Geralt's entourage is murdered.
Yep.
Like all of them.
All of them. Kahir
dies at the hands of Bonhart, who had kidnapped Ciri before. Milva fucking just gets, like, shot and stabbed while he mooks. And Regis is melted into a puddle by Vilgefortz.
Yeah, though, given that the Witcher games wanted to reuse him, he comes back in Witcher 3 Blood and Wine?
He is a vampire.
Yeah, he's a vampire, so he can get away with bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, the reason... I know the reason why he's alive, but I don't know if the books establish it.
I mean, he's a vampire, and, like, vampires have always been able to get away with some dumb shit if they aren't killed by the sun, which also is not something that is true in this fiction, so...
Yeah. I'll probably just say it, that vampires can only be killed by other vampires.
Okay. That's fucky, but whatever.
And then they free Ciri, but then they have to get through all of the... there's still a bunch of soldiers in the castle, but then they get through some of that, and then the Emperor of Nilfgaard shows up with his army, but turns out Emir Varimus, the Emperor of Nilfgaard, is actually Duni, Ciri's biological father. And guess what? He also wants to get her pregnant.
Yep.
Because he's wanting to do some weird official marriage. Like, he wants to officially marry Ciri, but has a change of heart in that same chapter.
Yeah, like, he's just like, nah, we need to do this to save the world, and I need a son that can save the world from the doom that is definitely happening. And, like, this world is doomed, which is why Oberon wanted to have a child that could give him the power to move between worlds, and Vilgefortz is just like, I want to be God Emperor of every world, and Emir Emrys is just like, yeah, I also would like to save this world. I'll fuck my own daughter to do it, and it's just like, whoa, what the fuck? And then and he changes his mind because Ciri just was like, wait, I'm not going to see Geralt again, and bursts into tears.
And then Nilfgaard loses the war. There's a whole chapter about, like, soldiers. I don't think it was too bad, actually, that chapter. Going through all the different aspects of the war, to, like, the tent where they treat the soldiers, to the front lines, to all the commanders and all that. And I thought that was kind of alright. But it's not much to do with the rest of the story. I guess Nilfgaard lose the war.
Yeah.
And then Emir ends up leaving Ciri with Geralt and Yennefer as Emir leaves with his army. And so they all go to the Lodge of Sorceresses. Oh, no. Geralt goes off to Rivia. Ciri and Yennefer go to the Lodge of Sorceresses. That's a mouthful to fucking say.
Yeah. Also, like, before they split up, like, they go around and clean up a bunch of loose ends that Ciri, like, left while she was a bandit, basically.
Yeah, she kind of makes a load of apologies, goes and sees where all of her friends were buried, and tries to talk to people that were helpful, and that's kind of nice.
Yeah, it felt kind of like doing the final rounds in an RPG where you save the world and you get to go talk with all the people you've met, but like, I don't know, it felt kind of stilted to me.
Yeah, it was a bit. And then that's when Geralt goes off to Rivia, and Yennefer and Ciri go to the Lodge of Sorceresses, who want Ciri to get pregnant.
Yep.
Because everyone wants fucking Ciri pregnant because of some stupid prophecy. They could have made this prophecy... Like, Andrei Sapkowski could have made this prophecy anything. He could have made it, like, just, like, stealing power from Ciri. They could have literally made it about Ciri's, like, they could have just stolen her blood or something, but no, it had to be, we have to make her pregnant.
Yeah, well, the fucking thing was, Vilgefortz was like, hey, we just want your blood, your placental blood. And it's just like, no, that's a step too far. What the fuck are you doing, Andre?
Oh.
When summarizing it to Leroy, it was just like, everyone wants to have control over Ciri's womb, and it's awful.
It's uncomfortable.
This is like trying to read fiction written by a fucking Republican senator who is way too into the abortion debate.
That was definitely more clear in all the stuff with Milva.
Yeah.
In some of the previous books.
For sure. But also, this fucking thing goes hard and just like, nah, bodily autonomy, fuck that. Oh, this is so uncomfortable to read.
I'd also forgot to mention earlier that when Ciri is traveling around various different universes, she brings the bubonic plague to the Witcher universe.
Also, there's that one fucking thing that I almost forgot about and wanted to forget about, where she just, like, comes across this old dude who's a cannibal rapist.
Oh. Yeah, no, Forest Gramps.
Forest Gramps is awful. I'm glad he's fucking dead.
Yeah, even after he's dead, it's really nasty.
I wish that chapter section didn't exist, because it's just awful for the point, like, shock value. It's, ugh.
Man, so, Ciri and Yennefer go to the Lodge of Sorceresses. Ciri is upset with it, because she doesn't want to get pregnant, because, of course, she wants some fucking autonomy over her own body. And then Geralt is in Rivia. With... Oh shit, no, I forgot to mention he went to Toussaint. No, they went to... Yeah, him and Ciri went to Toussaint to find Dandy... Oh, fuck, my chair broke. No.
Yeah.
So, Geralt... at some point, Geralt and Ciri had gone to Toussaint to find Dandelion, to find he is about to be executed, which is a fun chapter to read, because there's the whole bit...
It felt like a Monty Python sketch.
It did feel like a Monty Python sketch, because he has to forgive the executioner, but he doesn't forgive the executioner, so he can't chop his head off, because he doesn't forgive him.
And then the guy was just like, look, I'll pay you. Can you just accept not being forgiven? And also, the first thing he does is like, I want to speak to the people, and the guy's just like, keep it short. Then he walks to the edge of the scaffold and goes, hey, what's new? How are you? And someone from the crowd goes, I'm well. I'm glad. In that case, we can begin. It's just like fucking... It was an intrusion from, like, a much different story where Andre knew how to write comedy.
You never get vamping at an execution. But, man, it's...
Also, like, they reuse the Dandelion about to get executed thing in Witcher 2's opening at the start of, like, chapter 1.
Yes, they do. So, Dandelion is pardoned during the execution. Well, not during the execution, but before he is ever executed, not like halfway through. God. So they all just leave Toussaint, because I don't think Dandelion needs to ever show his face there again.
Yep.
And then, yeah, Geralt goes off to Rivia and has a nice meal in a pub. Some dwarf friends that from previous books.
Zigrin and Zoltan
Yarpen
Juvet.
Zigrin, Zoltan Juvet. But that notices as they're going through Rivia, there's kind of a lot of tension, a lot of racial tension between humans, dwarves, gnomes, whoever else is there, elves.
Yeah, there was also like a weird bit where just like a bunch of scholars tried to figure out why this thing happened, and one of them, which was later silenced, was just like, "Hey, maybe fucking people are just xenophobic." I was just like,
yeah,
okay. That also just reminds me of the one screenshot I still have from Witcher 1, which is just new quest racists.
So, what this racial tension sort of blows out to over like the course of like traveling to Rivia, Dandelion, like they and Geralt see kind of a few examples of injustice, and you can kind of gather from like that Geralt is more and more getting disturbed by it, and Dandelion keeps telling him not to get involved. So after a riot breaks out in Rivia, everyone has to run for cover and hide. Geralt gets involved and starts defending people.
Yeah, at the request of Zoltan Juvet and Yarpen Zigrin.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, my brothers are out there, I need to go fight for them, and Geralt's just like, I'm like 2 days from retirement, I just gave up my sword to this inn owner, fine, I'll go save some people.
Yeah.
And then, he gets stabbed in the fucking gut by a pitchfork, which is which is the source of the story that begins the first Witcher game. Like, that's... oof.
So, what ends up happening after that is Ciri, with the help of the unicorn she's known since back in the desert, take him away to be healed? Or, like, use the unicorn's energy to heal him? Something like that.
Yeah.
It was kind of a bit of both. I mean, Yennefer like kind of ate it as well. And I think,
and yeah, the book ends completely nonsensically when you want to try and connect it to the games.
Yeah, like the book just kind of
like
stops.
It's the most Deus Ex Machina thing in the series, and this has had some weird, stupid bullshit happen.
Most of it is in this book.
Yeah. Oh, so the entire framing story, by the way, is Ciri talking to Galahad of Arthurian myth, telling him her story, and she's just like, and after that, they got married, happily ever after. And he's just like,
sure.
Okay. And then she gets all blushy, because it's still an old man writing a teenage girl.
Yeah, and it's like, but there's also like a second, like, there are multiple framing devices. I mean, there's like always like a random bit of framing devices in all of these novels. Like, for some reason, it will like flash forward to like 50 years in the future where an old man's telling a story around a campfire, or like the one in this of like the people looking through the history of the world through like dreams.
Yeah, except that was made kind of relevant by the fact that was one of the points where Ciri showed up and they guided her through a teleportation mirror to the right place and time.
Yes, but for the large part, it does feel like a framing device. I mean, it becomes relevant, but... And there's like, when... Geralt's time in Toussaint is mostly told by like him recounting...
Oh my god, the fucking... the flashbacks and flash forwards and flashbacks and
to, like, the night Peyrak Peyran. And then... But also, there's the neat chapter, which I think was kind of alright, with the three people, like, escaping the main area, like Dijkstra and two others kind of trying to just sort of, like, forge new identities and...
Yeah,
leave the world.
It also takes an entire chapter to, like, frame all the stories and why they're leaving, and then tries to reveal, like, oh, it's all these people that you know-ish. that they made a point of showing you before, like, Dijkstra.
We know Dijkstra.
Yeah, and also Boreas Moon just, like, runs away from the slaughter at Vilgefortz's castle. Like, that was his introduction. It was just like, okay, we know this guy. He was like the one familiar face, and it's just like, oh yeah, the big guy who was good at sneaking. I wonder and he walks with a cane. I wonder if it's the one guy who broke his fucking leg because of Geralt and is big and good at sneaking around. And then a random elf.
Yes. An elf.
It's stupid.
I don't know, I didn't think that chapter was too bad to read, though.
I mean, it wasn't, but it was also, like, some of the things were silly and didn't need to be there. Like, there was, like, a bunch of scholars who were like, hey, this guy invented a perpetual motion machine. Fucking okay, but... And then, like, they run out to go see it, and then the fucking castle that that Vilgefortz was in gets blown the fuck up by magic and breaks the motion machine, and that's the framing device for it. And the witches blew up the castle. And then immediately followed by, like, there's a bunch of shit going on in Novigrad. There's festivities to celebrate the end of the war and the peace negotiations, and it's immediately like a hierarch goes, we need to censor history and remove Dijkstra and people like him from the history books. And then Philippa Earhart was reading his mind and goes, hey, fuck you, I like Dijkstra. And then a priest goes, man, Philippa has some really slutty lipstick on. I can't wait to burn people. And then it cuts to a different thing where it's a cat narrating its death at the bubonic plague.
Don't stop! That's a really terrible part of the book, and I fucking hate it.
It's so bad.
I'm a cat person, and that just felt horrifying to read.
It was unnecessarily gruesome. Ugh.
Oh.
I hate it.
God. So yeah, that's what happens in this book. I know you said there's a bunch of shit that didn't need to happen in this book, but this entire book didn't need to happen. We should have just started with the games. Yeah,
we should have. Like, that's our official position. Like, reading the books was kind of a waste of time on all fronts. Ignorance was bliss.
There are YouTube videos out there that will summarize the events and is less hassle than going through these, like, and they'll bring up the relevant events as well, a lot of them. So, like, you don't need... There's no reason to read the Witcher novels, because, like, people have done the work. There are times when not all of these books were available, when all the games were, so people did make those efforts. But, no, I wouldn't say they're worth reading. Don't bother.
Yeah.
I'm so glad, like, finishing that book, I was so glad to start reading for fun.
Yeah.
I can now, but then I'm just like, I've got so many books.
Or free.
Yeah. I am free.
Although, it has left a scar on us. That's our verdict. Don't read the Witcher books. Listen to our podcast.
Sure.
But, like, damn. Like, I really wanted something to come of this, but I didn't expect, like... I was pessimistic. You know me. I was expecting not much to come of this, but I feel like even less fucking prepared to deal with the games now, because I'm just like, fucking this is what they were basing it on? What the fuck?
I feel like over this podcast, I've been a bit kinder than you to the books, but this one,
yeah,
like, is just, I know these books aren't that great. And this one just feels even more disappointing.
And this was the culmination.
Yeah.
Like, I know that you were also kind of like... You were being kind to it, but also because you're fond of the games, at least Witcher 3.
I like Witcher 2 a lot as well.
And you were hoping that the books were building to something more substantial and, like, good. And fucking... Nope.
The thing is, I like having context. Like...
Yeah.
Like... I want context for why everything is around, and in a way I'm still happy to know all this stuff. It still is going to be building off of this material, which, like, to be honest, I went back because I haven't actually finished Witcher 3. Like, I've done all of it except the last DLC, which I don't have a lot to do in it, actually, but like, I was just thinking, did I fucking remember badly and just not feel like, are these games actually good? Like, I had like a moment of that, and I went back to the game, and yeah, it's good. It's a good video game.
Yeah.
So, sigh of relief there. Can't wait till we get to Witcher 3 in... It'll be a while yet, but it'll be a while before I get to that point in the game. That's the end of it.
Yeah. We're done with the books. We're good on those.
Yeah.
Fucking, what's the word on the Netflix series?
I don't think there's been a lot of updates. I feel like...
The Netflix is The Witcher to begin casting soon, 3 days ago.
Oh, shit.
Casting.
No, but, like, at least then it's definitely going through pre-production now. Like, properly. Like, I know it was at... Like, they had a pilot script written. So
we could well be waiting until 2020 for it to arrive on Netflix. And it's not based on the games.
Yeah, no, it's based on the books, but it's like it's the people, like the showrunners are people who've worked on like the Marvel Netflix shows.
Yeah.
The problem with those shows is they're always like 2 episodes too long.
I mean, if they adapted everything in this series of books, it would be like 3 books too long. So, I don't know.
To be honest, this whole thing could have been 1 book.
Yeah.
We could have just had 1 story, and it would go through the lot. But no, we just decided to waste our own time. But no, I'll be honest, I will watch a Witcher TV show.
We're not going to have this podcast be around that long, hopefully. Our plans are not 2020 reaching, but we'll probably do like a reunion, if we can call it that, episode on the series when it comes out. No,
I am certain that we'll bring it back. I want to bring it back if we're done before then.
I mean, fucking, with the pace that we're setting, we should be done before 2020. If we're not, that's fucked up.
I don't know. Do you want to include the Witcher adventure game? Do you want to do several episodes on Gwent?
No. I'm not sure you can convince me to engage with Gwent in Witcher 3.
You mean you're not going to get the mod that replaces all combat with Gwent?
No. God, no. What the fuck? No. It's not Yu-Gi-Oh! It would probably be better written if it was Yu-Gi-Oh!
It's very funny to see that, like, an enemy confronts you, and then the Gwent screen comes up, and then you win a game of Gwent, and you just see them all fall over.
But I think that would inflate the game time a bit.
Yes. As someone who has played through it on, like, the 2nd highest difficulty. I'm probably gonna do easy this time, just because I'm not gonna. I don't need to challenge myself. I mean, I know what these games are like.
It'll be a fair bit before you get to it anyway. So, yeah, we do have one question.
Oh, we have a question.
Yeah, Leroy asked us a question.
Yes, I've seen this question.
What are each of your favorite fantasy novel series, and how do they compare to The Witcher?
I don't actually read a lot of fantasy novels, if I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'm not a terribly. I haven't been a big reader since like high school because I've been an awful gamer nerd.
Yeah,
but a series I did like when I was younger and then forgot the title of is a science fantasy series called The Warlock in Spite of Himself, or The Warlock of Gramarye. Basically, it's fantasy stuff in a sci-fi setting. It is also thinly veiled commentary about the proper uses of government and democracy because it was written during the Vietnam War. Basically, the premise is a guy from a galactic human federation lands on a fantasy world, and later in the series it's revealed that it was basically colonized by the SCA.
Huh.
This setting also has time travel, but yeah, basically he goes across the land and does a bunch of fantasy stuff. I haven't read it in ages, so anything I would be able to like reference would be via Wikipedia. But he also finds true love and gets married and has kids And then at some point they move into an alternate universe where magic actually exists, which is fun. I think aside from that, it's basically just the inheritance cycle, or Aragon.
Wow. Oh dear.
Yeah, I haven't read a lot of books, but like all of these handle things better than fucking Witcher.
Yeah, so the extent of my fantasy reading is I like, as a teenager, I'd like reread Lord of the Rings. It's been a long time. Somehow I've managed to read through like the Council of Elrond multiple times. And I'd read like I've read like a few of the Terry Pratchett Discworld books.
I have heard those are good, but I've never touched them.
They're very good. I've only read like the first 4, and it's not so much that I've not wanted to read more of them. It's that it's just committing to a book series that's like 40 books.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, his uncle took the entire Discworld series to a book signing once, and Terry Pratchett signed all of them.
Oh lord.
Yeah. Like, they're really good, like, humorous takes on fantasy, but, like, the first book feels really Douglas Adams-ish, like, that it has no plot, and it's just random satiric. Like, it does for fantasy what, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy does for sci-fi, by just, like, here's modern stuff, I guess we'll just parody it. Like, there's a Conan the Barbarian parody character in the first book. It's Conan, but he's an old man.
Oh boy.
Let's just remember of that one. But, like, there's stuff like Equal Rights, which is about the first, like, woman or girl to attend, like, school for wizards. And it's a really well-written book. It has a whole bit where the main character possesses... I can't remember if it's the main character or another one, but possesses a castle. And, like, it's some of the most creative writing I've seen in a while, trying to write a personified castle, because it has, like, a physical being. It's really strange, but it's a very funny passage to read. And, of course, there's a character of Death in these books, he's never written with quotation marks, because he never speaks aloud, but everyone hears him, and it's always written in all caps.
Okay.
So, yeah. Terry Pratchett, good stuff. To be honest, like, this question prompts me to think that maybe I should be reading more. And if anyone has any fantasy book recommendations, please send them my way, because I'm happy to read good books instead.
Yeah, same here. Like, I just kind of want to fucking find a book club podcast for fiction and get in on that. Because, like, I need something to cleanse the palate. Like, really bad.
I will admit, like, I've read more frequently since doing this podcast. Like, I take ages to get around to books, but then I've been reading the Witcher novels, and I've been reading a bunch of, like, Dragon Ball manga. I had to increase my Goodreads challenge, because I was getting too through things too fast. So, yeah, now I'm reading more, but there's not the same thrust. I suppose if I read a good book, I'll have the thrust.
Yeah, that's been my challenge with The Witcher, is just like, you know me, I have too many unpopular opinions, and The Witcher has some really shitty source material is probably an unpopular opinion, and I also just, the prose is bad, and the plot is uninteresting, so it's just been kind of a struggle.
The thing with The Witcher is a lot of the people who are way too into the games have never read the books. That included me for a while, and now it doesn't include me anymore. And I'm still going to go out on a limb and say The Witcher 3 is great. It's a fantastic game, but for the love of God, please do not read the books.
Yeah. And also, like, we still have, like, the first game to get through, which is also going to be rough for different reasons.
Yeah. That game runs on the Neverwinter Nights engine.
Yep. Old BioWare stuff.
Yeah, and I've tried to play it before, and I don't enjoy it. I'd imagine I could make it... There are mods that might help, but Old PC games can be rough.
Yeah.
I say this as like, The Witcher is only like 11 years old, so that game came out in 2007.
Yep.
But like, it feels a little old-fashioned compared to its contemporaries.
Yeah, it's built with similar tools to like 2004, and I think, I don't know, what did CD Projekt Red do before The Witcher?
They localized BioWare games.
That would do it, because I think that was like their first development project.
No, they were basically a localizer. Like, there's a decent documentary on them, like how they kind of come about as like capitalism was coming into formerly communist Poland, and like CD Projekt kind of come about as to sort of like be one of the companies that was actually selling RPGs as opposed to everyone just pirating everything.
Yep.
But they had a whole thing of like bringing like a full like package with effort, and that does come across in like good old games, because that's them as well.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the books other than just don't?
Yeah, I don't know what I was hoping for, but it failed to deliver on anything, and I feel just as unprepared to tackle the trilogy of games.
The thing is, it's like, I remember like reading The Last Wish, and maybe because I was not quite as they say, woke, I thought, yeah, this is a good book. This is fun. I mean, compared to like everything after it, yeah, it's probably like kind of a bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, my final word is don't.
Yeah, your final word is don't. Mine is, it's a shame. We'll still keep going, obviously, and I do expect that I will at least partially enjoy 2 and 3, but when I tried to play 1 and 2, I still kind of felt the undercurrent of, like, this source material has issues with women.
I mean, it comes across in, like it gets better, but I don't think it, like, erased them. Like, yeah. I don't feel like you can with that source material. I don't think it's not easy.
And I'm fine with, like, being somewhat more sensitive to that. I hope that Witcher 3 is, like, at least has enough, like, variety and interesting writing with the quests, and that the combat is good enough that I can kind of give it a pass, because I can give things passes. It's just kind of apprehensive about popular opinion when it comes to stuff like this.
The one advice I have for people playing Witcher 3 is actually I have 2 pieces of advice. If you're going to just jump straight to Witcher 3, but please, like, if you at least play along with us on Witcher 2. Like, if you don't fancy playing the first one, we'll recount it on the podcast eventually. But my advice with Witcher 3 is use the shield magic. It's very helpful. And 2, you're probably not going to make that fall if you jump. Fall damage is a killer in that game.
The Witcher's biggest enemy is gravity.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I think we're done talking about the Witcher books, probably for good.
I'm so tired, Devon.
I feel you, Sam. Thank you for listening. But
I just want to say that, like, it's a warm day. It's 30 degrees Celsius here, and I've got a fan on, but I can't have my window open because I have cats and they climb in through the window, and so it's so warm in here.
Oh my god!
I want the listeners to know what I'm doing for this podcast.
Oh, jeez. Thank you for listening. This has been Myth and Kin, the book section. Join us next time for Myth and Kin, The Witcher 1. Have a good night.
Bye.